All right, so welcome to today's webinar. Yes, my name is Art Manville, and that's my beautiful wife, Terry, next to me on her birthday. We just love to go down by the water here in the Seattle area. And what's cool about this, Terry, I mean, it hasn't been 7 years since we got involved. We had our last webinar a couple of weeks ago, and since then, on July 27th, 28th, we had our 7th anniversary in Zango. Gary Hollister called us personally to congratulate us on our 7 years, and we got emails from the founders, and they're just such a great company. I mean, it's hard to believe everything that's happened and all that's changed for us with this great company, Terry. And, you know, what's nice here is, you know, we get to go out for dinner. We don't have to worry about how much the bill is, right? I mean, it's the little things to me, you know, and when I talk about lead your team to freedom, it's the little things to me that make the big difference. Okay, so you houses and cars and things, those things are cool, you know, but, you know, when you walk into a store and you buy a pair of pants and you walk up to the cash register and you've got them all fitted and you go to buy it and you realize you have absolutely no idea how much they cost, that's the kind of freedom that we've been able to experience.
You know, Art, for me it was really exciting this week. I mean, like Art says, it is about the little things. I mean, Art and I went to the store and we got 4 backpacks that were filled with crayons and papers and pens and all kinds of wonderful things because, you know, the schools are really hurting right now. Parents aren't able to afford to get all of these things that they need for school. And so we were able to drop 4 huge backpacks off and know that we had done a donation to our local school. And so that was really rewarding as well. So it is about doing little things than helping other people.
Yeah, and so some of you have seen this picture before. That's me working, and pretty much what I look like right now. You know, not on the back deck. I wish I was, but I love to talk on the phone on the back deck with the waterfall. I thought I'd show you what it looks like from the bottom. You know, I mean, this was just a bunch of trees when we got involved in Zango, and this whole dream of this waterfall, Terry, is 13 falls and stuff. You can see her at the top of that same deck. You can see the chair I was sitting on there, and the waters are trickling down. It's just a beautiful place. Isn't that the way life should be, you know? Isn't that the kind of environment you'd like to live in and work in rather than have to jump on those freeways, Terry?
Well, it was really interesting. Art had one day woke up and said he'd like to cut some of the trees down in the back, and I said, really? I said, well, what are we going to do? Because I knew we had quite a slope there. And so he cut the trees down, and I said to them, they will come. And he says, who's coming? I said, the weeds. And he says, really? And I said, yeah, just give them a couple of weeks. And now that you've got your trees down, because we did want our blue sky back, no doubt. But, yeah, we did this beautiful waterfall. I was so thrilled with it. And the fellow thought he was going to get 7 different falls, and we got 13. So it was a much steeper road or thing than we thought.
Yeah, so lead your team to freedom. And like I said, freedom to me is the little things that we can make. And freedom to make more choices, freedom to decide who you want to work with, freedom to be at home with your family, the freedom to, you know, dream your own dreams and not somebody else's dreams. So let's get into it here. What are we talking about here when we say lead your team to freedom? So first of all, what is a leader, right? I mean, if I'm going to help you guys become leaders today, let's first talk about what it is. And I love this simple explanation. A leader is a person who guides or inspires others. And so that's what you have to be in this industry. If you want to build a large network, if you want that freedom, if you want to create that financial freedom to yourself, you're going to need to guide and inspire others, aren't you? And so let's look at an example that just happened this week. I wonder if you guys have seen the news. Now, how about this for leadership? And how about this for having a big idea and getting other people to follow? How about this for inspiration? 40 billionaires have pledged to give away half of their wealth. Now, this is a dream of Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, who already have pledged to give away most of their wealth, much more than half. And so they decided, hey, this is a good idea. Let's get other people to jump on board. And they made 80 phone calls to billionaires on the Fortune 400 list, and 40 of them agreed to join their pledge to give at least half of their wealth away. Now, how's that for leadership? And if you can go to their website, it's quite interesting. You could Google this, The Giving Pledge, and read the stories of these billionaires and all the money that they have and how they're pledging to give it away. And so that's what leaders do. That's a great example of leadership. And but what's interesting about it, if you read part of the story, is that they had billionaires that turned them down and kind of said, give them the side shuffle. Says, oh, yeah, I can't talk right now. I'm getting on a plane, just like you get, right? So even billionaires can get no's. So now it's the inner and the outer, isn't it? And the last webinar a few weeks ago was all about the inner game. You've got to have those goals, those dreams. You've got to have your belief. You've got to have your inner game working. Today is more about the outer game. What are the things that you must do if you want to become successful? And I've said this before, dreams without action are like hallucinations. So you can dream all that you want, and it's great to dream, but the rubber meets the road when you start to take the first step towards those dreams. And if you're not into action, then nothing much is going to happen here. So I think freedom begins with a decision. You've got to make up your mind. So I'm going to ask you guys, have you decided? Have you decided to go for your dreams? Have you decided to become a premier in Zango? Have you really made up your mind? I don't even know if I can open this up.
Unmuted.
So how many people have decided to become a premier in Zango?
Yes.
Come on, this is your chance. Have you decided?
Yes. Definitely. I have.
No, I just got. Hold on a second. We'll get it muted.
Everyone, hold on.
Hold on. We know how to do this a different way.
Good morning.
Muted.
There you go. Okay.
Sherry told me not to do
I
that,
told
but
him
I
not
don't.
to do that.
I don't always listen to her.
Go ahead.
So if you've decided to become a premier, and you've decided to go for your freedom, and I'll tell you what, this teaching that I'm going to give you here is one of the most amazing teachings that I think has ever come to me. And in fact, I was thinking about this morning. I was in Las Vegas about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was going to do one of my very first presentations for my mangosteen training. And I believe the fellow that's recording this, Sam White, was meeting me for lunch when this happened. And we were just sitting there having lunch, and I had this light bulb moment come into my head. And I was so surprised at the idea that I kind of went, wow. So that's what I'm going to do today. And that's where this teaching unfolded, of getting you involved in this process. So if you've decided to become a premier, and of course I have asked you here, first of all, how long are you going to work for it? So you've made the decision. How long are you willing to commit for that? 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years? How much time are you willing to put into it? And how many people are you willing to talk to? But if you've decided to become that premier, then you've got to do what premiers do. In my view, you can't wait to become a premier to start doing what they do. Doesn't that make sense? If you've decided on something, you've got to start doing what premiers do. So I want you to bring out a piece of paper and a pen here, because that's what the GAP means. Grab a pen and a piece of paper, and I want you to start making a list of what you think premiers do. What do they do? Start writing it down. And then I want you to, some of you that you think of a great idea of what premiers do, hit the question mark there, and actually put what you think a premier do into the question section when you come up with a great idea of what premiers do. Because I think there's lots of things that they do. So what do they do? Anybody got some ideas? Hit the question thing on the webinar panel there and give me some ideas of what you feel like premiers do. Oh, they focus on the positive. Yes, I believe. Jan, thank you for that one. Yes, they focus on the positive. They're always focused on what they can do. They don't focus on the negative, because you'll get more of whatever you focus on. So if you focus on the negative of your downline and what's happening, then you'll get more of that. If you focus on the positive, yes, they invest in others, Donna Williams says, right? So they care about other people, and they invest in other people, and they invest part of themselves in that. Yes, that's a good one. Now, when you hear something that you think makes sense, I want you to write it down. I want you to make a list. Please be making this list on here. They treat it as a business. Thank you, Patrick. You got my words. One of my favorite things. They treat this as a business. You know, it's not a hobby. It's a business. And it's like I was saying to Terry before. You know, I know a lot of people take the summer off, but they don't take the summer off of their jobs. So why do they take it off of their business? Because they don't give their business, their own dreams, the same respect as they give their jobs somebody else's dreams. You see something not making sense? So I always treated this as a business, and I knew that was one of the secrets of our success right from the very beginning. I saw this as $1 million business. And so you've got to see it as a business. They lead their teams by example. Thank you, Chris Jordan from the UK. Yeah, I mean, you've got to do what leaders do. And we're going to get into this more a little bit later, Chris. But yes, you've got to lead by example. It's a follow the leader business, isn't it? People will do what you do. They follow up with prospects. Yes, Ann Van Brussel. Follow up is the key. They don't just talk to somebody and not follow up with it, right? A perfect example of that. What's some more things? Come on, I need some more things on here. I'm missing some things. They never stop learning. I like that from Chet Suter. Yeah, I mean, they realize that they've got something to learn here, that this is a craft that they're mastering, and that maybe there's a bit of a learning curve for me in it. I don't have any business experience. I've never done network marketing before. You know, I've never done this before. Maybe there's a bit of a learning curve. So what else? They make calls and connect with people. They learn about the product, sure. They direct prospects to webinars. Well, they use the tools. They don't try to do it by themselves. They don't try to make their own presentations. There's a few things missing. I like this one. Turn off the TV news and turn on the CDs. Great one from Becky. Come on, what else have we got out there? Quitting is never an option for premiers. Yeah, they never would give up, right? There's a couple things that I think are missing. And let's see, what else do premiers do? They become a product of the product. Yeah, they're on 200 PV. Thank you for that, Hank. They hang with other leaders. They build as an example. They promote. They do three-way calls. Yeah, I think premiers do three-way calls. What else do they do? Come on. What else do they do? They do conference calls, don't they? I mean, you know, when Terry and I first started, we didn't have a conference call. And one day I was on someone else's conference call, and I said, this is boring. And I knew that was a clue to start my own. So conference calls should be on your list. Okay? Sponsoring. They never stop sponsoring should be on your list. We've got treated as a business. Okay, what else have we got in here? They're consistent. Every day they're consistent. Luttrell says they're consistent. So that means they're doing their business every day, not Monday and Friday and a couple of people next week. Every day is filled with activity. They follow a system. Yes, you've got to have some sort of a system, and they follow. So these are all great suggestions. I hope you guys have got a big list. Jim Crump says they inspire others. Yeah, I mean, they inspire others by their actions, not by what they do. Let's see if there's any other great things. I think we've got it with follow-up. Leaders do three-way calls. I hope you've got that on your list. Have we talked about that before? They have a passion for their business. They use the tools. They're always improving their skills. Chris Jordan says they sacrifice their free time to build their success and inspire their teams. I mean, Terry, you could get off on that one because, you know, you had to give up a lot for you to become a premier in Zango.
Well, I really did. You know, there were things that I would rather do, like play with my flowers and plant things, trees, and go outside and do some yard work or plant our garden and harvest our garden. You know, there's one thing about planting a garden, but harvesting is just as hard because you've got to eat it. Some people don't eat their gardens. It's really important. But, yeah, I had to, that first year, we didn't do a garden. I didn't do flowers. I knew that was a sacrifice that I needed to make in order to get our business going.
Here's another one, Terry, before we move on with this, because I want this on the list, and I don't know of anybody that said it, but Cass from the UK says they attend events, don't they? Premiers go to events. I mean, you would not go to an event if you're a premier. So what I'm telling you guys, they plan events. They're always inviting people. Yeah, this is fantastic. So you should have a good list. Now, I want you to look at the list that you have here, okay? I want you to look at the list that you have. You should have a nice long list now. And I want you to look at the list, and I want you to circle the things that you're already doing. So you should be able to look at this and say, okay, if I've decided to become premier in Zango, then I need to be doing what premiers do. I need to first ask myself, what am I already doing? And you should have some circled some things, okay? I'm already attending events. Okay, I can circle that. Now, as you're looking at the list, you also see the things you're not doing. Those are the things that aren't circled. Now, I want you to look for some things and make some decisions here about the things on this list that you're not doing, that you could be doing, and that you will do, and put a check mark next to it. So that you should have a list of things that you're doing, congratulations, and things that you're not doing that you will start doing, whatever that might be. And we're going to get into this a little bit more a little bit later. So what do you do? It's like know thyself, okay? So if you decided to become a premier, start doing what they do. Because every communication that you have with people is a training on teaching them what to do. This came from Chris and Renee Peterson, our upline here. You see them in the corner there. Whatever you do and whatever you don't do for your team teaches them what to do and what not to do. So, for instance, if you don't do a three-way call with your upline after someone's watched a presentation, you've just taught your candidate that you don't do three-way calls. If you do the three-way call with your candidate, with your upline, you've just taught them that this is how it works. We do three-way calls. If you use a tool to do the explaining, then you've taught the candidate to use a tool. So whatever you do teaches them what to do, whatever you don't do. If you don't go to events, right, you've just taught your team that events are not important and there's no need to go to events. You see what I'm saying? So it's a follow the leader business here. And so this is a key thing here. You have just got to be the leader that you want others to follow. I mean, I love this picture, okay? I've showed this one before. There's a mama goose, right? And that's you. And you're leading your team. And wherever you go, they will follow if you are the leader. Now, I have seen some of these people in our team and in other teams actually follow their chicks, follow their downline. You know, the downline stops sponsoring, and so they think, okay, I'm going to follow the downline. If the downline stops sponsoring, I guess I'll stop sponsoring. The downline stops going to events, I'll stop going to events. The downline doesn't get on conference calls, I won't get on conference calls. You start following instead of leading, right? And so you've got to be the leader you want others to follow. Terry, and I have watched you become this incredible leader, and you know, I hate to make a big thing about this, but I will, because you've been a follower, really, and when it came to our business world, a lot.
I followed Art for 25 years. Not quite that long, but I was a follower. You know, I was behind him, and I backed him all the way, and I rallied around him, but I was a follower. And I knew that when we joined Zango, I knew that this was going to be life-changing. There was a powerful knowingness in me, and I said to Art, I want to do all that I can to change our life, and this is going to be our vehicle. And so I knew, you guys, I had to get out of my comfort zone. I knew I had to climb out of my box. I knew I had to climb away from Art's shadow. And so I did not know how to do three-way calls and coaching calls, any of that. And, you know, I just kept listening to Art over and over and over again, and before you know it, I started doing it. And now I do my own coaching calls. I do my own three-way calls.
Well, okay. Truth be known, Terry, that one day this week, actually, you did a tricky three-way call with a brand new candidate, which I would usually do that kind of thing.
Exactly.
And I was going to be out, and I said, why don't you do it? And you did a fantastic job. All you have to do is do it, guys. It's a lot easier than you think.
Yeah, it was amazing. You know, it's really empowering to know that you've learned enough and grown enough. You have to grow into this business. You know, you have to have enough confidence in yourself. And so it's been very rewarding for me, that's for sure.
So a little bit of tough love coming up. I hope you don't mind. You know, all of you great leaders, and believe me, I believe all of you are leaders. There's only leaders on here today. You know, it's the summer. It's August. I mean, you're leaders. You've decided that this is worth your time. And so, but what did you do last week? What did you do last week? I get a little echo when Terry's got her phone off mute there, so I had to chase her out of the office. What did you do last week? Okay, let's have a look at some of the activities that leaders do if you've decided to become a premier. And I want you to make up some totals here. Okay, so how many new contacts did you make this week, let's call it, okay? Should be this week, it's a Saturday. So from last Sunday to this Saturday, give yourself a point for every new contact that you made. 2 points for any presentations. Now, I'm not talking about live presentations necessarily. You can make a presentation with a CD, with a webinar, with a live event, okay? Follow-ups. How many follow-up calls did you make last week? How many three-way calls did you do last week? How many events did you create or did you commit to attending? Give yourself even more points. And if you've signed up somebody on ADP, give yourself 10 points. And I'd like you to use that question section to tell me how many points. Let's see who's got lots of points. And what have you been doing? This is where the rubber meets the road. Let's look back at last week and see what we really did. These are the action steps. If you haven't made any new contacts this week, you're really not in business. I'm sorry, you're not working the business. You're living off of your past. If you haven't had anybody go through a presentation, how is your business ever going to grow? And if you're not doing three-way calls and follow-ups, then your efforts are weak. If you're not going to events, you're not going to become a premier. And if you haven't signed anybody up, you're once again living off of your past. So let's see what point totals we've got. Who's got some point totals that they would like to give me? Use the question section there, and let's check. Wow, we've got some great new stuff on becoming a premier. Okay, somebody's got Julie Barton, 45 points. Congratulations. That's somebody in some kind of action, you know? And we've got some people here with 6 points. And 35 points. Jen Laszlo, congratulations. Those people are in action. We got Ann Van Brussel, 64 points. Congratulations. Patrick Brown says he had 8 points, but he also had knee surgery. Okay, good for you, Patrick. And so, fantastic. 31 points for Richard Markowski. Congratulations. Patrick, 6 points. Becky Gullickson, 65 points. Now, there's somebody that's working it. Richard Morgan, 45 points. Deborah Moser, just starting out, first week and learning. Okay, Deborah, good for you. Chris Jordan, 22. That's good, Chris. Hey, Dan Dimmitt, 61 points. You guys are rocking it. Congratulations. And so those are the people that are doing the actions, and those are the people that are working the business. Now, here's a little teaching I'd like to do for you. Some of you may have heard this before. And this is the challenge that we have with this business, is imagine how much energy is required. What we got here is a freight train, and it's a coal train, right? And imagine how much energy it takes to get that train to move. Some people have equated network marketing with like the space shuttle, right? How much energy does it take to get that thing off the ground? It uses, I think, 90 or 95% of its fuel in the first minute and a half, right? Well, to me, starting your business in your road to premier is a lot like a freight train, a coal train here. And so what would it be like? You know, you've got to have a spark in order to have the fire. You've got to get that fire burning. And you've got to build up a lot of steam and a lot of pressure before you're ever going to get those wheels to turn. The spark, to me, is your dreams, right? And your goals, that desire for freedom, that want to be at home with your children, that desire to get rid of your debt, to want to know what it's like to not have to worry about money. That's the spark, right? But you've got to then, as you get the spark and the fire starts burning, you've got to pour the coal into it. And what is the pouring the coal? That's making new contacts, isn't it? That's doing those three-way calls. And you pouring in coal and the fire starts burning, but, and a little bit of action is happening, but your train isn't moving. And you go away for a week on holidays and you come back and your fire's almost out. You have to start all over again. You haven't been consistent. You haven't been persistent. Okay? You've got to keep attending that fire that you've already built, right? You've got to nurture that fire. If you've ever built a fire, you know it needs nurturing. You can't throw some coal on there and without doing any follow-up. That's the nurturing. That's tending the fire. You can't leave people to their own devices and not connect them with your upline. But you keep sponsoring new people and you keep bringing in new people, and you wonder if this is ever going to work because you've done a lot of work and nothing much seems happening. But the pressure is building, the fire is burning, and one day those wheels will start to spin. And when they start to spin, you can feel it, and it gets really exciting. But without all that activity and that consistent effort, you're never going to get that train to move, right? But what happens, do you think, when you finally get that train moving? There's people on the call. I saw Andy Hewson on here, a great leader, wanting to learn something. His freight train is moving, right? You couldn't get it to stop if you wanted to. Do you think our train can stop now? No. It has a tremendous amount of momentum. We've got this huge team behind us here. So that's what it's like. You've got to get that engine burning, and you've got to move that fire. And how you mostly are going to do it is through sponsoring and through bringing in new people. And this is the funnel, right? The more contacts that you make, the more presentations that you make, from the warm market, the cold market, or the people you meet market, the more people coming in, the more will come out the bottom. But Terry, we have a bit of a problem sometimes, don't we? That we see this a lot in our downline.
We really do. I hate to tell you guys, but we've got some people out there that just like to move furniture. And I understand, you want to get your files ready and you want to get your desk in the right spot and you want to buy a lamp for it and you need to get a new computer. But you know what? As days and weeks and months go by, then they phone us, they want to learn, but they're still moving furniture. So you see, what you have to ask yourself is, what are they really doing? They're not sponsoring, truly. We'd know if they're sponsoring. They're not talking to people. They're not bringing three-way calls to Art, and they're not getting people on the product. You guys, we have this amazing product. So talking to people and even getting people on the product is an amazing accomplishment to help them. But look at the economy. You guys, this is the best time to be sponsoring people because people out there need a lot of help. They need money to pay their car payment or their extra money for their mortgage payment. Or what about the school supplies or their college that the kids are just starting college this year and they've just lost one of their jobs. The wife lost her job, Would it not be a wonderful idea to say to Sally, your neighbor that has just lost her job, hey, I really want you to look at this. I can really see how you could be a stay-at-home mom and pay for your son's college through doing this. So, it's about helping people, but moving furniture is not going to help you sponsor people.
Yeah, moving furniture is kind of like doing all of the non-essential items, always getting ready, and redecorating, moving the furniture around. Another, like saddling up, always saddling the horse up is another way to describe that. So,
but the other thing is it's fall is coming up, and it's summer, and I know kids are going back to school the middle of August, and that's really exciting because they're going to get back into the routine. But, now is the time to plant those seeds. Now is the time to talk to more people. Because remember, you're seeing lots of people. You're at picnics and barbecues and weddings and, little gatherings here and there and little parties outside. So, you're seeing lots of people. This is an exciting time. But I know in the summertime we slack off a bit because, after all, it's summer. But why not plant these seeds now so that when the fall hits, as in September hits, You're going to be able to have your business growing because people do get back to work and they get going. And then in October, which is just the next month, we've got the Orlando. And so I think it's really important to get your people there. And so get them motivated now to start them on the product or get them involved in the business so that by the time the regional comes along, that you've got them coming to it, because leaders are born at meetings like that.
Yeah, that's good, Terry. And so, but what's the mindset you've got to have when you launch your business here? Because we're talking about a lot of action steps. But really, I love that movie. You've seen it, Pay It Forward. Let's find three who help change the world. And so you've got to be focused in on what's in it for them. You've got to be doing this with an idea that you've got something that could change somebody's life, that you're bringing it out to them to help them. What is in it for them? And with the whole concept of paying it forward. So now I'd like to give a little teaching here on one that I gave a long time ago. I call it the number one pitfall, because there's a lot of pitfalls out there. You've decided to become a premier. You're going along your merry way. What is a pitfall, actually? A pitfall is something you step into without knowing it and end up, could be falling down a crevice or something. So it's a pitfall. And I have back in the early 80s, 70s. Gosh, it's been a long time, Terry. Terry and I we got married fairly young, okay? And I was in the jewelry business. And my boss had promised me a raise and a promotion. And at the end of 6 months, I went into his office, and I said, "Where's that raise and that promotion that you promised me? Does this sound familiar, guys? Does this happen in your jobs?" And he said, "Well, we don't have any stores opening right now, and so I can't really help you out there, and I don't have a budget for a raise. I don't have a budget for a raise." And I said, "Well, I guess I'm going to have to get a new job then." And he thought I was kidding. So I decided at the age of 21, when Terry was pregnant.
I was 9 months pregnant with our first child.
I decided that I was going to get into real estate. And somehow I was a pretty good talker even back then, 21 years old. I convinced them to give us a little bit of a draw each month. And so $600 a month was enough to get by back then. And so I got started, and I was pretty dedicated. I went into the office every day, and I did the things and went to the training, and all of a sudden, a month went by, and there was no sale. And another month went by, and there was no sale. And another month went by, and there was no sale. And I finally got a listing for a piece of land, and it wouldn't sell. And I watched these people come in into the office. A guy by the name of Larry Shine. Eva knows this guy. And Peter Nees, and she knows him too. Eva's the only one that goes back that far, listening. And they started making money right away. $3,000 their first month, $5,000 their first month. And I was like, what's wrong with me? I see all of this other success going on. What's wrong with me? And I started to feel pretty bummed out. And then I looked at them, and I realized that they had done all kinds of preparatory work. They knew more people than I had. They'd been in more sales-oriented situations. They had all of this past and this history, that I realized that I was only feeling like a failure because I compared myself with them. And that if I didn't compare myself with them, I felt fine about what I was doing because I was doing my daily activities. So I realized that the number one pitfall, because we know that Zango works, right? I mean, it's $2 billion. There's really not much of a question about that. And we know that the company is there and the products are fantastic. And we know Zango works. And so the number one pitfall is really doubt, And I realized that it was my own doubt that was going to hold me back. And I hung in there, and in my 6th month, I made $3,000 and managed to pay back all of the draws that I'd had over the next 6 months and went on to become very, very successful. And one of those realtors that I'm talking about is the one that got me involved in network marketing a few years later. So where are you on this list? So here's the key that I want you to understand. Imagine, and Bob Schmidt used to have a website, whatwouldyoudO.biz. And so what it was based on is if you absolutely knew, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you were going to be earning a 6-figure income in Zango within 12 to 24 months, if you absolutely knew it, if there was no doubt, what would your business be like? What would you be doing? What would you be acting like? What would your confidence level be like? If that would be a 10, you absolutely know that you're going to be a 10, then doubt would be, I don't think I can do this at all. Well, the truth is that most people are fluctuating in here between 1 and 10 someplace. And so, you know, you just go to a big event like Orlando's coming up. Your certainty is up here as an 8 or a 9, right? And then your Uncle George says, oh, no, that stuff is a scam. You know, you can fall down to a 3 or a 4. So you've got to have kind of an emotional intelligence here. There's going to be ups and downs. But doesn't it make sense to you that whatever you can do to increase your level of certainty to that, I know for certain that I'm going to make a 6-figure income in this, whatever you can do to increase your certainty is going to impact your business. Does that make sense? So that's why there's so many things that are important to increase that level of certainty. Getting on this webinar is a way to increase your level of certainty, isn't it? Conference calls is a way to increase your certainty. You know, Terry, you got a lot of certainty out of doing follow-up calls in the beginning and hearing people get success on the products.
Yeah, that was really important. I mean, talking about increasing your certainty, I mean, I had no doubt, you guys. I had such passion that was backing me with these great products because I was hearing all the stories. I was understanding what these products were doing for people. It was changing people's lives. And so, yeah, my certainty was really high, Art.
Yeah, and so you have somebody that quits and your certainty drops. You have somebody that joins and your certainty goes up. So whatever you can do to maintain your certainty, stay connected, stay involved, attend events, listen to CDs, right? You know, get on XGO Pro and listen to their CDs every week. You know, don't miss a conference call. You need to keep feeding your level of certainty. So I'm going to do a poll right now. And we're going to launch a poll, Sam, coming right up here. What is your level of certainty right now? Launch that poll. I want you to just do some self-reflection. What is your level of certainty? 10, without a doubt. Like, okay, I absolutely know I'm going to make a 6-figure income with this. An 8 or 9 would be, I'm going to make it happen. You know, I'm going to make it happen. 6 to 7 is try my best. I'm trying. Okay, I'm trying. 3 to 5 would be I'm working on it. And 1 to 2 would be not much chance. Okay? So we got about 38% voted. Let's get some more votes in here. It's looking good, guys. I like what you're saying here. What is your level of certainty? So we're 46% voted. Come on, hit the thing right on the screen there and cast your vote here. Because the higher your level of certainty, I mean, doesn't it make sense? You're out there talking to a candidate, wanting to get them interested in the product, and you have a high level of certainty. You've just heard a new product story. You've just listened to a CD. You really know, you've had your own product experience. When you talk to that person, isn't it going to make a huge difference? Of course it is. Okay. So 65% voted. We're getting up there. When we hit 70%, come on, a few more people. We'll close the poll, and we'll show you the results. Come on, I'm at 68%, 69, there we go. Close the poll, share the results. I don't see it. Attendees are now viewing poll results. Check your computer. You guys seeing this? Is anybody seeing this?
Yeah. There
okay, there it is. All right, so gosh, without a doubt, that's good. You guys really got it, right? You really got it. 38%, 47% going to make it happen. You're almost there, right? What could you do to get to 10, you 8s and 9s? And, you know, and sometimes, let's face it, guys, you've got to have some experience to move up your level of certainty, you know? I mean, how can you have a 10 if you haven't signed anybody up yet? Try my best. Well, trying doesn't work very good. And I put that in as a trick question because trying never works. I will do my best would be better. You're working on it. Okay, maybe you're new. right? You haven't had a lot of experience yet. Maybe you haven't even got on the product. And so we don't have anybody that thinks there's no hope here. So congratulations, guys. I love these polls. Your level of certainty is looking good. So if you have this high level of certainty, what are you going to do next week? How many new contacts are you going to make? Write it down. New contacts. I'm going to make how many next week? I mean, I have said this before. 1 or 2 new contacts a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks out of the year, for 3 to 5 years, we create a huge business. Consistently looking for new contacts, right? Presentations. How many of those new contacts? So if I make 10 contacts, I should be able to get 3 to 5 presentations. And out of those 3 to 5 presentations, we should be able to do 3 to 5 three-way calls. What event can I commit to? How many team members am I going to sign up next week? So what are you going to do next week? You should come away with this with a list. I want to talk about something called the law of diminishing intent. This actually came from Jim Rohn. And what it means is that if you don't follow your goals and your dreams and your intentions with actions, they diminish over time. So you've come to this presentation. You've learned what premiers do. You've got a list of things that premiers do. Some of you have even decided to do things that you haven't been doing that premiers do. You may have made a list of how many contacts you're going to make next week, how many three-way calls. You're going to make all of this, but if you don't do anything in the next 7 days, your intent will diminish. And by 2 weeks, you might have nothing of this presentation left. There might be nothing left of this if you don't do something different with this information in the next week or two. And eventually, if you don't follow up your intentions with action, this is the line here. This is the bad line here. This is the quit line right there. None of you guys are there, but that's what happens. Look at no intent, dropped right off the map. That's done. And this is what goes on with your downline. They start off really excited, right? And then they have a setback. You know, the first 3 people said no. Then somebody signs up, and then that person quits, and then they call their doctor friend of theirs, and he looks interested. They get him on a 3-way call. He says no. Boom. And then they get some action go. I mean, this is really what your business looks like, up and down. I don't know what happened here. The wife said, listen, you haven't made enough money yet? We're out of this thing. Boom. Wait a minute. I can't quit yet. Let's climb the mountain. Whoops. Boom. Yeah, gosh, things are tough here. Wow. And then all of a sudden, that's it. It's over. So you've got to do action, guys. Believe in yourself. Hey, you can do it. There's lots of people with no experience that have done this. There's lots of people that really aren't that great at communicating. There is nothing in this that you can't do. So believe in yourself and believe in these founders. I mean, I'm telling you what, I was thinking about how to close this presentation today, and I wanted to close with a presentation of this management team because I think these are some of the greatest leaders that I have ever been a part of, you know. I mean, these guys really care. They have this big vision. All we need to be, if you want to know what it's like, if you want to have a dream of what kind of a leader you'd like to be more like these guys. You know, be that dedicated. You know, and be funny, and be able to sing would help too. But I mean, don't they bring a lot to the table, Terry? These founders, I mean,
oh, they really do, Art. You know, I mean, I'll never forget Gary Hollister, the first time I was on stage, and he said, "This is just the beginning." And you know what? When he phoned me on my birthday last week, him and I talked about that, and he said, "This is still just the beginning." I mean, Zango is an amazing company, but all of these leaders bring something very powerful to the plate that you guys can work with. You know, Aaron Garrity. I mean, they all have greatness. And so Art and I strive to be like them.
Well, I mean, and they're passionate, they're excited, they care about people, right? I mean, that's the kind of leader you want to be. And they have a great management team behind them. They're smart enough to bring great people like Larry McCallum, Beverly Hollister, you know, Scott Smith, and Robert Connolly. They have a great management team doing that hands-on work. So really can't say enough about the company, a true example of leadership. So I think we have a wonderful opportunity in our hands here. We have a company we can trust. We have products that deliver results. Your dreams are safe with this company. And it's up to you, to get into action to make the things happen that you need to do. And I'd like to finish off here with this quote. Many of life's failures, and from Thomas Edison, many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up, right? So just keep working towards your goals. You're getting it. You're getting it. I'm telling you, you are moving forward. You're on this presentation. So I think, once again, freedom begins with a decision. Take the next step. You got to make up your mind. You really want this. And then, I was talking to this guy last week. I mean, why is it there's so many rags to riches stories? Because we were so motivated when we were back then 7 years ago. We were heavily in debt, maxed out on credit cards, wondering what to do next. The financial rug had just been pulled out from underneath us, and we took the next step. We got involved. We said, okay, we're going to do this thing, and it seemed to get off to a slow start. Even to us back then, it seemed like it took a while, to fill that pipeline, to get that train moving. So freedom begins with a decision. And I love this one, Terry, the leap of faith. I mean, eventually you've got to just make up your mind to go for it.
You can't be putting your toes in the water. You have to leap off the cliff, you guys, and put your whole body in that water and know and trust and believe in these great products that this will work.
Yeah, it's like I said, what's the best way to get in a swimming pool? Stick your toe in or jump? No, you got to jump in with both feet. When you make that kind of a commitment, these guys had to commit to what they were doing right there, right? If they'd have hesitated at the top of this cliff, they'd have fallen down, and it could have broken. They had to commit that they were going to make this happen, and they had to leave everything behind. They left their past behind. They left their problems. They left their worries. They left their concerns behind, and they just leaped off into the unknown, into the abyss. We've got the company here that you can trust, so you've got to make that leap. And I believe there's a shift that has to be made. And I've said this before, you've got to shift from who you are and who you have been into something greater. And you make that through the power of decision. It has to be that willful determination that you're going to make this happen. And when you have that willful determination, you make up that mind, good things start to happen. So as we close out here, reminder, XGO Pro has their summer tour on. The Summer Surge, getting great reports from the event in Michigan. One of our team members that's there said Doug and John were what, Terry, last night?
They were just on top of their game. She
Brilliant.
says they were brilliant, yes.
So within a day's drive of North Carolina, what do you think this would do, guys? Increase your level of certainty. Events increase levels of certainty. Here's a chance to pop your certainty in the summertime. And then we've got Arizona, a day's drive from Arizona. You should be there. And Washington State, Canada, everybody's coming to that one here in Washington State. Get the whole schedule on xgopro.com. And finally, building for Orlando. What have we got left until Orlando? 60 days?
Yeah.
Just over 60 days to Orlando. Who's committing to go to that event? And if you commit, remember, be the leader you want others to follow. If you commit, they will follow.
Don't come alone. Make sure you bring your downline because that's so important. You really want to bring people with you to share this great experience with them.
So thanks a lot, everybody. Appreciate you, and have a great summer. I know that you have what it takes, and we'll see you all in Orlando. We're going to over the line so we can say goodbye. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everyone. We so appreciate you all coming on today.